but it's hard to lay this kind of number with Liverpool right now. You just need to kind of, they were playing Wolves, and Wolves were 10-1 on the money line. And it just almost behooves you as a bettor just to either want to sit out, or you just want to keep prodding this Liverpool team to see just how far it will go, because you're still getting good prices. That being said, we all thought Ajax were overrated in the market before the Champions League started. One game against the Rangers is not going to change that tune for me. So I would like a little bit bigger number, but it's Ajax or nothing for me here. But I could see, we don't typically get into coach speak all that much, but it does seem like Jurgen Klopp is kind of committing to, I don't want to say abandoning ship with like the all out press, but just playing a more pragmatic, managed game. That's kind of what he was alluding to after Napoli when he said they might need to kind of just like reimagine where they're at right now. Not unlike what Erik ten Hag kind of is doing with Man United. Like, you don't need to just go all the time. It's not like a cardinal sin to abandon that kind of soccer in these kind of situations. So I could see Liverpool parking it a little bit, not a lot. I mean, it's not in their DNA, but being a little less rambunctious. Anthony, what are your thoughts on Liverpool Ajax and these numbers?
Yeah, this is a pass for me with a lean to the under. I think that we can't overreact to one game from Ajax, but like, we have to also acknowledge that our prior on Ajax, at least what we thought prior going to last week, was that this team would not be nearly as dominant. And we didn't really have data necessarily to go off of that. That was more vibes. And this is an art, not necessarily a science, when it comes to a team who gets rated like Ajax did, loses the manager, loses their striker, best winger, arguably best defender. So, like, it's hard to truly gauge them. But I also think that maybe we were wrong on Ajax. Maybe they're not worse. But also, I don't want to say that after one match either against Rangers, because maybe we're wrong on Rangers.
That's my question. It's like,
right. So
were we wrong about Ajax, or were we wrong about Rangers?
Right.
That's
and I
what we
was
had to figure out.
I was not huge on Rangers going into this tournament either. So I'm starting to think that maybe this is more just as much about Rangers as it was about Ajax. When we think about what we were wrong in our call, I cannot lay Liverpool here at all, but I also have no interest in Ajax the number. So if it got to 1.5, I would be on Ajax because I do think that they can cause some problems in a similar way that, their passing combinations on the wings that they use, at least they used heavily under Ten Hag, can cause issues for a Liverpool defense that, if you were to pinpoint where the biggest problems are beyond the midfield pressing, it's that they're kind of getting overloaded in these wide areas where they normally would have midfield help, and they're not getting that because the midfield's old and not covering as much ground as it used to. And so they're getting kind of caught out. And you saw that in the first goal, I thought, for Napoli, or second goal rather, when Zambo and Gisa just kind of did a very simple 1-2, and they were just right in behind again. And Liverpool's defense was kind of just standing there looking at each other, Alexander-Arnold and Gomez. So, and it looks like Van Dijk's lost a bit of athleticism too. So, we talked about Liverpool on the last pod. We're going to be talking about Liverpool a lot. This number seems about right for me.
Ajax last 6 matches, 22 goals scored, 1 goal against. Yes, 1 match in the Champions League at 5 in the Eredivisie. But that's the frightening part about Liverpool. And BJ, you're going to make a case for the Reds in just a second. That's what would scare me if you are going to lay the goal with Liverpool at home, is that almost in like a backdoor cover kind of sense that we see in college football all the time, that this Ajax team could go down 2-0 and score. They're still going to give Liverpool trouble going the other way, 3-1 and get a late goal or whatever. Because they are an offensive, I don't want to call them a force or a juggernaut, but they are very strong offensively. They have good players. Steven Bergwijn is this year's Sebastian Haller. And I just can't see Liverpool keeping them out, which is a little scary, and why I'm kind of leaning towards taking just the number and taking a shot to see if Liverpool will capitulate again in a tough matchup. But you're here to tell us not so fast.
Yeah, not so fast, my friend. I'm going to make a case here for Liverpool. So Thiago being back obviously makes a big difference. And I agree with Anthony that the problems at the back with Trent Alexander-Arnold, Konate still being out, I think, is a big problem for Liverpool. I think he provides a lot more athleticism along with Van Dijk that could really help them defensively. Matip is a little bit older. Joe Gomez just is not really a top tier center back to be pairing alongside Van Dijk. So those things do kind of worry me. But when is the last time that Ajax truly played a top tier club of Liverpool's stature? Because it wasn't in the Champions League last year. They were paired in a group with Besiktas, Sporting, Dortmund, and then they got beat by Benfica in the round of 16. You have to go back 2 years ago when they were paired in a group with Liverpool. So Liverpool beat them over both meetings, 1-0. And that was during Liverpool's injury crisis. And I went back and looked at the lineups that they faced against those Ajax teams. Liverpool in the first meeting played a midfield of James Milner, Curtis Jones, and Wijnaldum. And they had a center back pairing of Fabinho and Joe Gomez. And they still beat them 1-0, beat them on XG. Then in the second meeting, the center back pairing was Joel Matip and Fabinho, and they played a midfield of Wijnaldum, Henderson, and Curtis Jones. So now they're going to play a midfield of Thiago, of Fabinho. They're going to have Van Dijk back there, and they're still going to have their wing backs. They're going to have pretty much the same solid front three that they've had for years, outside of obviously Sadio Mane. Looks like Diego Jota's back. That obviously helps Liverpool quite a bit. So my point is that if the last time Ajax actually played a club of this level, of this stature, and really wasn't able to get at a midfield and that defense, what makes you think that they're going to do it with the players that they have now? Like I agree with you guys that like it is scary taking Liverpool -1. Like they haven't looked that great to start the season. I think Thiago getting back, it's not going to just be like an automatic switch, like they're going to be good again. But I still have questions with his Ajax team. And I think, to Anthony's point, like I think it has more to do with the fact that Rangers is just bad, that they've lost a couple of good players and that they just got overrun by a good Ajax team at home. But then again, I'm like, has Ajax played anybody like to that level in 2 years? I don't think so. So I'm going to take Liverpool. I'm going to bet on the fact that Ajax hasn't played a team of this stature, of this level, of this talent for over 2 years. And I'm going to hope to God that Liverpool can find something.